it will be recorded actually onto our YouTube channel. So hello, everybody. I am Claire. I am the founder of Ladies Get Paid and also the book, Ladies Get Paid. We are an educational platform that helps women advance professionally, financially, kind of obsessed with power and helping women get power in any way that they define it. So we only have an hour and only 35 minutes with Dara here. So let me tell you about the structure of today. So we're going to begin asking Dara all the questions that you guys submitted beforehand, which were excellent. That being said, use the chat function. In person, remember, it would be like rude to talk while the guest and myself are speaking. Not rude now. It's totally encouraged for you guys to have conversation. Drop your LinkedIns in there, ask questions, answer each other's questions. Highly encourage you to do that. 35 minutes into our discussion, we're going to let Dara go because she is a busy lady. I would encourage you all to stay because I'm going to be doing a reading, the introduction to my book that came out last month. And the last piece of business before we officially begin is a major, major thank you to Comcast, NBC, Universal. They are allowing me to afford to have a roof over my head while I do this book tour. So we like them. And also to our host, okay, so I can't say that. Warwicks, there we go. What's most important is for you to see the URL. So I'm going to go drop that into the chat real quick. They are the bookstore, the independent bookstore that is hosting us today. Please, please, if you will purchase Ladies Get Paid, which I know you will, buy it from an independent bookstore. Buy it from them. Okay, Dara Treseder, I'm going to do your bio. She is a business leader with expertise in building and leading high-performance global marketing communications and commercial organizations. She is the current SVP, Head of Global Marketing and Communications, I love a good long title, at Peloton, the world's largest interactive fitness platform. And a veteran chief marketing and communications officer. Dara was previously the GMO of Carbon and the CMO of GE Business Innovations, which, by the way, our last speaker was Beth Comstock, who used to be the vice chair.
Yes, Beth is an amazing mentor, great leader.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I didn't mean it to be a series like that, but I love that we have you now. And then earlier in Dara's career, she led marketing and growth efforts at Apple and Goldman Sachs. There's many other things that she's done and awards that she's received, but you probably all know it already because you looked at the Eventbrite and you signed up. So now we're going to begin. Well, thanks for being here, Dara. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be with you.
I know you mentioned in the very, very beginning, you said little people, right? Keeping the little people out, barricading ourselves. Let's just begin with the fact that you've got 2 young kids who are incredibly adorable because I stalked you on Instagram. And what has that been like for you juggling work from home, childcare, homeschool care? I don't know. Are you doing okay?
So, yeah, at the beginning of the pandemic, my husband and I were like, okay, we've got this, right? It's going to be 2 weeks. Do you remember that when we were told, that you're just going to be off work for 2 weeks? And we thought we were going to homeschool our children. We soon realized that we could not both. We're a dual career household. So it was we just realized that was not working. So our kids are in a pod situation. So we've got that relatively under control.
Yeah.
It's been.
We got Jenna Sweat Life. OMG, 2 weeks, lol. Talk to me. Okay. So when you joined Peloton, it seems like you recently had your 1 year anniversary.
Not 1 year, 6 months, but time flies when you're having fun.
It's only been 6 months?
It's only been 6 months.
Has this been a very short 6 months or a very long? What's it like joining a company in a pandemic?
It's been an amazing 6 months. And that's really because of all my Peloton teammates. I see some of them here on the chat. I think one of the things that I always had thought about was, what's it like working at a company where it's totally high performing, everybody's crushing it, but people are kind and it's a positive culture. And you kind of see a lot of organizations tend to tilt one way or the other, right? Either the culture is so positive and so kind, but it's not really high performing because, we're not able to set boundaries, we're not able to get things done. And what I've loved so much about Peloton is that it's kind and it's high performing. So it's got the best people in the world, the most amazing culture and spirit, and we get a lot of stuff done. And we get it done effectively and efficiently. So I've really enjoyed it. It's been an amazing experience, even joining remotely, right? You join as a leader remotely. Hey, am I going to be connected? How will I build? And I think that it speaks a lot to the soul of the company. The fact that I have been able to join and feel, even within 6 months of not having met most of the people I work with in person, but I feel very plugged in, very connected, and able to thrive.
I second the good culture, because I'm going to be teaching at Peloton, and by teaching I do not mean working out. Nobody wants me to teach workout. We're going to be talking about leadership. As somebody who's new to an organization, though, and as somebody who also sets the tone for your team, advice for anybody here who may have joined pandemic, like how do you develop relationships, and then also as a manager, how do you make sure that people are working well together?
Yeah, I think that what I did that I think made my first 30 days were about investing in people. And I think that's really important to do. When you first join an organization, everybody wants to leave their mark, right? You get in, you want to quickly show quick wins. I actually say the biggest quick wins you can get, especially as a people leader, is investing in getting to know your people. Having the people that work most closely with you, both people on your team, your cross-functional partners, not establishing that trust is what is most important. So I would say that's the thing to do the first 30 days. It's like getting to understand, hey, what is this person looking for? You know, what expectations do they have of this role? Would they like to partner with this role? Really getting that understanding first, that's the right foundation. You can then build on that. It also allows you to figure out what are the things that you should focus on. Because, you know, like everyone, you know, I'm a planner. Any type A's in the room, I'm a planner. So you kind of come in with your 100-day plan, right? But the reality is that you don't know what you don't know. And there's a lot of you don't know. And so coming in and investing in people gives you the space to learn. Be a sponge, right? So I'm here to learn, and I'm here to be a sponge. I just want to absorb. I want to take things in. I want to learn. And then I think it sets that foundation, allows you to be able to build a solid plan and kind of go from there. Because you know what, if you don't have trust, if there's no trust, if you don't establish trust with people, you can't really lead. In this amazing culture that I think we're in right now, is you have to, the way you lead is by people kind of saying, I want people opting in. Gone are the days where you lead by command, right? People need to say, hey, yes, I want to be a part of that. You have to, well, I say a leader's job is to attract. You have to attract people to the ideas you're trying to, and not just your ideas, but even their ideas, right? You're building a collective idea, and you can't get there if you don't invest in people.
Mm-hmm. And then also there's the managing up part, right? So we encourage everybody, think like an entrepreneur. If you're working full time, pitch your ideas, right? So what would you want to see as somebody who might be more junior, obviously developing relationships, right? But how do I show my worth in maybe whether it's earlier in my career or maybe I'm new to your team?
You would be surprised how many people don't give recaps. And what I mean by that is like I have a colleague who I'm actually learning a lot from. She is really good at those recaps. I'm like, girl, I need to be here taking notes. I'm constantly forwarding my team saying, look at the recap she did. She is so good at this. But we need to be good at giving our managers recaps of what we've done, because so much is happening. And it's like this finished, on to the next, on to the next. Are you actually sending your and I think it depends on the level that you are and what you're engaged, but I think especially when you're at the early stage, mid stage, it is so critical that people know what you do and what you've done. Don't just assume that people are going to know. You know, you see all those general emails that go out with 100 people on that list. I'm sorry, your manager did not go through those 100 names to find you. You know, that just didn't happen. So it's on you to make sure you invest the time to providing your manager a recap. Hey, I just wanted to share this with you. I was so excited this happened. By the way, I just wanted you to know our team contributed X, Y, Z. Be specific. And let me tell you, your managers love that. Well, good managers should love that, right? Because it gives them talking points. Right. When they're engaging with their peers. So you're actually, you're helping your manager advocate for you, and you're also making sure that your manager notices you and recognizes you. I remember early in my career, I got this advice, actually it was from a man, And and he said to me, he said, Dara, you do a lot of good stuff, but nobody knows that you did it. And that hit me like a pack of bricks. Because I was like, wow. So it's not just about doing the work. It's about making sure that people are aware of the work that I've done. And I think that's really important for women and people of color and people that sometimes don't always get thought of as the people doing the work.
Do you ever feel like that's, quote, bragging? I have my own thoughts on this. I think the answer is no. But did you ever struggle with that, the balance of like, you know, tooting your own horn and like, I don't want to seem, quote, arrogant versus making sure that you're recognized?
So I struggled with that, and I still do, to be quite honest, because it's like, hey, what is the line? What I will say is that I think it is important for you to share your accomplishments. And I always say it's not about the what, it's about the how, right? There is, and we all know what the how is, right? Is it in the middle of the team meeting where you interrupt to say, hey, that's not the place to give your recap. In a 30-minute meeting, you take 10 minutes. That's not the place to do it, right? But hey, you could send your manager a note afterwards. You could, highlight that when your team is doing a round robin of like, hey, let's give, and you're being asked, that's the moment to share. Oh, by the way, I'm so excited. Our team finally got this conversion rate. This was our attached to cart rate. So I think that there is a how, but I don't never let the how stop you from doing the what. I'm gonna say that again. Never let the how stop you from doing what you need to do. Don't let the how. You just need to hone in the how. And it might take you a minute to hone that how in. But it's important for you to elevate what you do. And it's important because let me tell you, there are a lot of people out there who have no problem talking about what they've done and what they've accomplished, and they have so much confidence. So I think it's really important as women that we build our confidence and that we feel confident talking about our accomplishments. We need to normalize that. And the other thing too is like when a woman does that, plus her, plus one to her. You can echo her and she can echo you. I think we can kind of normalize that it's okay by supporting each other and really cheering each other on as we celebrate our wins. Like when someone wins, you win too, right? Your win is my win. We amplify each other's wins. We can do that.
Mm-hmm. And that is such an easy way to support other women. It's publicly in a meeting.
Yeah, exactly.
Dara had a great idea. I just want to shout her out. And if we all on this Zoom right now, let's commit to doing that. That's huge. That's huge. Do you feel like, maybe let's talk a little bit about the beginning of your career. So imposter syndrome, perfectionism, right? These internal obstacles I get asked about all the time, right? Life is hard enough. Like, how do we not make it harder for ourselves? For you, have you struggled with those internal obstacles? How'd you get out of your own way?
I mean, yes, right. I certainly have. And I think that what was hard for me was I found that when I was early in my career, I was constantly being asked for my receipts when my peers were not. And it wasn't lost on me why that was happening. I was like, okay, sounds like, people want to make sure the Black woman deserves to be here, but I don't really see anybody asking, other colleagues and checking in on them to make sure that they deserve to be here. Yeah. And that was that affected me because it made me feel like I wasn't good enough. Yeah. Then I had a reframing. Another mentor of mine helped me reframe. And I started to realize that, no, this isn't about me. This is about you. Yeah. You're the one who has to deal with your issues. I deserve to be here. And I think that shifting for me of my own mentality and that changing of my mindset, right? And realizing that, what people say, when people are, whether it's microaggressions or actually just passive aggressiveness or even straight up aggression, right? That has more to do with them than it has to do with me. And the way I have worked to sort of overcome that, the way I've worked to deal with that has been to really believe in myself. And I do a lot of self-talk. Okay. So I believe in it, by the way. I remind myself why I'm here. I deserve to be here. And sometimes I need to tell myself that. And that's this is a legit thing. I remember there was a time I was in a specific role and I knew I deserved to be there. I was crushing it. But I had this colleague He was just so aggressive. He had questionable views, and I just didn't think that he appreciated who I was as a person. I think he just could not get his mind around the fact that a Black woman was in the role that I was in. And I would always say to myself, I deserve to be here. Before I went into a meeting with him, I literally had a little pocket mirror. I would pull up, I would look at myself, I would say, I deserve to be here. And I would go into the room with him. And it was funny, but just me giving myself that, I had that extra confidence. I had that extra feeling of assuredness. And you know what? When he said something, I wouldn't let it slide. And I would make sure that I got my point in. And all of a sudden, I was able to bring that energy into the room. And so whatever it is for some, whatever it is for you, I think just being able to give yourself that, whatever, that thing might be for you that helps you get that confidence, do it. Have your little ritual. Like you see a lot of athletes do that, right? They've got their routines before they get into performance. They have the things that they do. I think that we as women, we need to be comfortable getting, whether it's putting on that red lipstick, whatever it is, right? Do whatever it is that gets you in the mood and gets you in that headspace for when you need to go into situations where you might be with people who don't know that you deserve to be here, but you will let them know because you deserve to be here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I knew the minute you started talking about the mirror, I saw all these people go, hello, hell yes, 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 yes. What is this Peloton power lip? Bring us on the inside here.
I am not sure, and I don't want to mix stuff up I'm not sure what the Peloton power lip is, but I probably should know. I will investigate that and get back to you.
Oh, it's all the instructors wear a bold lip, and they call it the Peloton power lip.
See, I'm learning something here on this.
Interesting. So you talked about this one person in particular, right? And you don't need to give any details here, but office politics, right? Whether or not when do you confront somebody? When do you not? It's not one size fits all, but do you have any suggestions? I don't know if there was a time where you felt like this is when you should have a direct conversation with somebody.
I am what you see is what you get. And everybody is so different. But I was like that kid that would be like, who ate the cookie? Someone ate the cookie. I think that someone was me. I'm sorry, I ate the cookie. I can't, but just say I'm a bad liar. I got to tell the truth. And by the way, my face always tells exactly what's going on. So I just I've got to follow the face, follow what's happening over there. And so my whole approach has been, I will always treat, it's just something I try to live by, but I always want to treat others as I want to be treated. And I think about that. So whenever there's a situation, I always want to have a direct conversation. I believe go to the source of truth. That's one of my values and my ways of working. So if something happens, I'm going to come to you directly, but I'm going to do it in a way that I would want it done to me, right? I'm not someone that likes to be shouted out in a large meeting with 100 people on. I would not want that to happen to me. So I would never do that to you. But I might have a little side slack with you. And in the old days, I would have come by your desk. Today, I'm just going to give you a little impromptu Slack call to have a chit chat with you. But I will very directly address whatever it is, right? Whatever the situation might be. And what I found out, honestly, 9 out of 10 times, most people don't even know what they're doing. And most people appreciate oh, wow, thank you for that heads up. And I think you want to nip things in the bud. You don't want to allow things to fester. If there's any kind of issue, it's always best when it's just addressed. So as soon as you know what, I say, if I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to talk about it. Maybe, and I might even start saying, hey, I don't even know if I do an impression check a lot. An impression check is I make I statements. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about I. In that meeting, I was feeling a bit uncomfortable when you said that. I was feeling, this is what I was doing. This was the impact this had on me. I just wanted to check in with you. Was there something I said? Is there something I could have done better? I addressed it. And when I focus on my I statements and I focus on me, I'm not talking about what's going on with you. I focus on me. I found that 9 out of 10 times it opens the door. And even if it's a very difficult conversation, we're able to navigate it and we're able to get to a better place. So I just really believe in authenticity. I believe in going to the source of truth. Don't go go direct, unless of course, if it's a situation where it's anything inappropriate, please immediately call your HR. But if it's sort of a everyday friction that happens naturally in the workplace, always go to the source of truth. Go to that person directly. You don't need to like go to 10 managers ahead of them and then they get called in. You build trust with people by learning to have direct conversations.
I love it. And I think as women, we don't do that enough. I'm looking at your LinkedIn for a second because I want to hear from you the through line in all of these jobs, right? First glance, okay, we're seeing a little different things. We got Apple, we have GE, okay. Then we've got carbon, right? 3D printing. Then you have New Bridges, which I want to hear about in just a bit, a little bit more detail. And then you go, well, then you're a board member of Pacific Gas and Electric Company, Public Health Institute. Okay, now we're at Peloton. How did you make decisions to change to each of these companies? And were you proactive or did these opportunities kind of present themselves to you?
So I have basically the through line through my entire careers. I've always been in I've always done marketing, comms, commercial, right? That's like my discipline, my area of expertise. It's the discipline. So I've always done that. I've done it at almost every industry. So I feel very comfortable with this, but that's sort of the through line. And then I sit on a public company board, PG&E, and I also sit on a nonprofit board. And what I would say about I think you prepare yourself so that when opportunities arise, you can walk into them. So I've prepared for the opportunities, and I never knew when they were going to come or what was going to happen, but I prepared for them. So maybe a good example would be my first C-level position, the first time I became a CMO. I always wanted to be a CMO, but I wasn't, it wasn't like I was out there looking to be a CMO at the time. I really wasn't. I was in my second trimester. I was pregnant. Actually, this is my third trimester with my second child. So the only thing I was looking for was like a lot of ice cream. That was the one thing that I was like aggressively looking for, was like ice cream in every possible flavor. Can I please find that? But I wasn't aggressively looking for that. But I was ready, and I had been preparing myself to be ready for a position like that. And when the opportunity came and presented itself to me, I wasn't sure how much I was going to lean into it. And I remember this is one of the things I think is so important, to surround yourself with a personal board of directors or advisors, whatever, your kitchen table cabinet, whatever you want to call it. The people in your life that speak life into you, right? The people in your life that are like, hey, how about this? The people in your life that support you and help you get there. And I remember I was talking to this woman who actually I serve on a nonprofit board with. And she was like, I know that they're interested in you for this position. Why aren't you like all over that? And I was like, well, who's going to hire someone in her third trimester? Like, I don't know about all that. Maybe it's better to do that when my kids are a little old. She's like, why are you opting out before anyone counted you in? And I was like, that is a word.
We need to say that word again. Okay. Can you just say that one more time? Because it was so.
Why are you opting out before anybody counted you in? Fabulous. Right? Why?
Love it.
And I was like, you know what? That's a word right there. And I reflected on that, and I was like, why am I taking myself out of the equation before I've even given myself a real chance? And so I leaned in, and it ended up being an amazing, in fact, literally that was like the first C-level position I needed, because I had the most phenomenal CEO in the world. And I have learned so much from her, like an insane amount about how to lead, how to show up as a good leader. There were so many things that like I had never seen modeled in a good way that I first saw modeled there with Sue Siegel, just a phenomenal leader. And that helped me so much. And so my whole thing, and she didn't care that I was in my third trimester of my second child. She'd taken a big job when she had her second child. She knew I could do it. It's also another thing of why I think we need more women in positions of power. It becomes normalized, right? Like, I'm never going to be worried about a woman being pregnant looking for a job. I've done it. I know it can be done, right? It's not. And I think we need to normalize that, having more women in positions of power, having more women in positions of authority. Because then, not only can the next generation look and be like, oh, see it, be it. I see that I can be that. But also it creates, you have people who have walked the walk so that there's no kind of confusion about what can be accomplished.
Right, right. And which job was that?
That was when I was the CMO for GE Business Innovations and GE Ventures, so working for Sue Siegel.
With 3D printing, I want to talk about in the pandemic. I mean, you guys printed like 200,000 masks, or talk to me about what you did at Carbon in response to COVID.
So I think that was such an amazing time at the company, in that we thought, like, the whole issue, what was happening were supply chains were disrupted, right? And so essential workers, frontline workers could not get the personal protective equipment that they needed. And the powerful thing about 3D printing is that it enables you to produce what you need without an extensive supply chain, because you can produce it at the point where it's needed, right? So it's the kind of distributed manufacturing, if you will. It really enables that. And so the team at Carbon, and we had such an amazing team there.
By the way, just give me 1 second. Somebody, I think, is unmuted who's making some noise. We just want to make sure if everybody can just check to take your I think we got it. Okay, good. I was going to say, take your mouse, go to the bottom of your screen to the left, and there's the mute. All right. Thank you, guys. All right, Dara, sorry about that. Go ahead. Yes, supply chain. And so you were in a good position to be able to move quickly.
Yeah, so the company kind of rallied together, and Carbon was also another amazing company. And everybody kind of rallied together and came together and started producing personal protective equipment to help. And what was amazing was we had a huge community of partners. And not only did we do it, but we empowered our partners to do it. So you were seeing all around the world, people using their 3D printers to produce PPE, to jump in and help. And that was, to be a part of something like that, like, it was just such a powerful human experience.
Very moving, because so many of us couldn't do anything and we were sort of watching helplessly. So the fact that you could is incredible. Do you feel like, just because I realized somebody asked a question I didn't get to and I wanted to, do you feel like getting your MBA helped propel you forward in your career? I don't know if not to give a blanket recommendation.
For me, yeah. And I think each person's situation is so different. And I'll explain why for me it made sense. I knew, like, I had what it took to excel in business. I knew marketing was going to be my discipline and my focus area. I wanted to get into technology, and I was in finance and communications. And I actually applied for tech jobs. Like, it was funny, like, when I left, Stanford, the jobs I was getting were all the jobs I was rejecting jobs that I would have applied for and never gotten. And the reason was, it was just like, hey, you're a marketing person for finance. Don't really see how that's applicable here. And so I was finding it very challenging to do that. And so, and also so I had to make a decision. Am I going to stay in finance? And I was in a great position, loving the people I was working with, doing good work. But I wasn't sure that I wanted to be in finance marketing. I felt like I wanted to be in marketing, but I really wanted to be doing it around technology, around innovative products, disruptive products. That was what I was mostly attracted to. And the reason for that is I grew up in Nigeria and I saw how much technology transformed an economy, right? I remember coming back and all of a sudden, cell phones were everywhere. When I was growing up, like, you couldn't even get like a reliable landline call to someone. And all of a sudden, cell phones are everywhere. E-commerce is enabled. And that was so powerful to me. I was like, I really want to work in tech. And going to Stanford, I remember someone said, actually, one of our professors said, one of the first meetings we had, he said, if you want to accelerate your career, change one thing. Either change your industry or change your discipline. He said, don't change both. If you want to change both, but it won't accelerate your career. And, who knows whether or not that's true. I hung on to that because I was like, I know marketing is what I want to do, but I know I want to switch into tech. And so, going to business school enabled me to do that. But it also enabled me to be a better rounded business person, right? I never wanted to be the marketing person that was only focused on the advertising or the branding. I wanted to be able to have business conversation. I wanted to have a real seat at the table. I wanted to be able to have a conversation about what's going on in operations or what's going on in supply chain or what's going on, talk to the CFO in an intelligent way. Really, I always like to say, show me the ROMI, show me the return on marketing investment. And I felt that, an MBA, and you don't need an MBA to do that, right? I need structure. So I'm one of, my husband is the kind of person, he can take courses online and he will get exactly where he needs to be. He mocks me all the time because we paid for my MBA and he didn't need all that. He's able to get there, with a 32nd of the cost. But I'm more of I need structure. So I need these are my courses and I can focus on that. So it really depends on you and what you need. I think if my husband was on this call, he'd probably be like, I don't know, an MBA is all that important. He's a product guy too. You know how product people think. But I think that I found an MBA to be hugely helpful for me.
We have 2 Nigerians, at least 2, who spoke up.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What?
And I'm not going to try to pronounce what this person said, so you can scroll through and no, I'm not going to pronounce it. Okay. How is your culture? How do you feel like it's maybe influenced the way that you operate in your life and in your career? Or has it not influenced how you do?
I absolutely has influenced. I think that when I think about some of the things that were so formative for me in terms of how I see the world, I have to go back to my mom, my mother kind of raising me, and she always used to have these things that she would say, and 2 of them in particular. One of them was that character is beauty. And so the idea is, in my mother tongue, it's iwalewa, which means character is beauty. So it doesn't matter what you accomplish or what you achieve. If you don't have good character, nothing else really matters. And she also used to always say to me, ambition with contentment. And I didn't know what that meant when I was, growing up. You're like, what is this mommy and her saying? Ambition with contentment, ambition with contentment, right? But it's so funny, but I literally hold on to that so much. And I think about that so much, and it shapes every single thing I do, every decision I make. When I was looking at even taking the Peloton job, I had a couple different opportunities. And and Peloton, I knew Peloton was where I needed to be, but I was trying to make a decision, and it was a tough decision. But I looked at the other one, and I was like, okay, this is not going to have contentment with it. This is just raw ambition. This is going to be so not good for anybody in my family but Dara, and it just didn't feel it didn't sit. Right. But when I looked at what I was looking at Peloton, I just felt like this makes sense. This is what makes sense for me. And this is where I need to be. And I'm so glad that I had that framework. So for me, when I'm looking at opportunities, it's not just hey, what is this versus this? How much is this versus this? I look at the things about what are the contentment? Who are the people I'm going to work with? What is the mission I'm going to be pushing in the world? Do I believe in that mission? Is that a mission I can really get behind? Right? How would this, I believe in work-life harmony. I don't say work-life balance. I'm not going to pretend I work a lot. And I think it's always, I never want to misrepresent, right? I keep it real. I work a lot. Work does take a huge part of my life, but I am a mom of 2 kids and I love my children. And to me, it's about being there when I say I'm going to be there, and that quality time. And what job is going to enable me to do that? Right? Enable me to thrive and give everything that I need to give to the role, but still create space. Where was that team that I was going to see that work-life harmony? And so that contentment piece, I'm very ambitious, but I'm ambitious with contentment. Contentment is a huge part of how I think about my journey.
This is incredible. I'm so enjoying again, we got more Nigerians. This is fantastic. I guess to close up, let's talk a little bit about what you're doing and what you want to be doing at Peloton. I know that, were you part of the Shonda Rhimes deal at all, the year of yes? Was that
my team worked on that. I think our chief content officer, Jen Cotter, is really just a phenomenal leader, phenomenal woman. And she and her team, I think are doing a phenomenal job with the content that we put out in the world. And obviously my team partners and works to bring this to life. So it's really a very collaborative culture and bringing those things to life. And I think, Year of Yes was an amazing moment. And I think that, it was really great for our members. And I took a lot of the classes and enjoyed them. And I think that was, and you know, one of the things about Peloton is everything is so authentic. We celebrate what's real. Shonda Rhimes is a real member who wanted to do something with us. She's a storyteller. She's a member of our public. So it's all real. It's not like we're not into the business of like partnerships for the sake of partnerships, or like, you know, influencer marketing, whatever. You know, for us, it's about, okay, what's real that's going on, and how can we shine a spotlight on what's real to attract more people to that, to help with that mission of connecting the world through fitness and motivating people to stay active, centered, and connected.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you can pick your favorite instructor. You saw that question.
I can't. They're all my favorite instructors. Every single one of them is my favorite. Every single one.
Yeah.
Depends what day, what mood. I love all of them. They're all amazing. Every single one of them is amazing.
I was going to say, yeah, it completely depends on the kind of workout you want to have and how you're feeling, which is also why I love Peloton, because there's somebody for everybody, including, I like to think about Biden, riding with Biden, because I know he has a Peloton. So sometimes I imagine as I'm watching or listening to the music, like President Biden also with me riding. Talk to me, I guess, just in the last couple minutes, for anybody here who is interested in doing the kind of work that you're doing. So I'm talking a little bit more about general comms and marketing advice. What's, you know, strategy, mentality, and I know I'm asking you to do this in like 1 minute, and then you could teach a whole course. But yeah, any advice for people in the Zoom who are interested in following, who maybe work for a company right now and they have to be thinking the way you're thinking?
I think I would say sort of 3 key things. I think the first thing is like, be really curious. The best marketers and communicators are curious about what's going on in the world around them, curious about the impact their brand is having on their members, curious about what's going on in culture, right? And what they should say, what they shouldn't say, how they should fit in. So I think just being curious and having a curious mindset is really important. And even if you're someone who isn't in marketing and comms but wants to break into that, if you're curious, it will enable you to kind of do the research that you need to be able to land you that first opportunity that would open up the door, right? So I think being curious is really important. The second thing that I would say is it's really important to be a storyteller, to love stories, and by the way, like there is a very analytical side of marketing, right? A very data-driven side of marketing, but even the most analytical folks in marketing are still trying to understand stories. Because whether you're like a hardcore performance marketer, you're trying to target, you're trying to figure out, hey, where is this person? What are they going to be doing then? How do I reach them? Right? It's all about connecting the dots. And whether you're telling a story that's rooted in data and insights, or you're telling a story that's about a narrative, or you're telling a story using original content, whatever, and marketing is such a robust, it's one of the reasons I love it. It's like I constantly fall in love with marketing because it's such a robust discipline that we'll have another conversation for another day. But I think marketing is one of the most, I think is one of the most underrated positions, because I actually think a marketer touches so many things that when you're in that role, you're looking at so many things that I think really make you a very well-rounded business person. But I think if you enjoy storytelling, you enjoy connecting the dots, you enjoy finding meaning, you enjoy translating that, I think that is something that is so, and wherever in marketing you're going to find yourself, it's such a useful thing. So really that falling in love with stories and learning how to tell stories, I think is so important. And then the third thing that I would just say is, for marketing, is that you have to be someone who loves to test. You have to be someone who is willing, like you need to know how to test stuff, right? Because you might put something in the world and, well, that didn't work, and go back in there, right? You have to be willing to, like, if you don't know how do you get through the noise, right? If you just say what everybody else is saying, exactly how they're saying it, you're not going to be effective as in marketing or in communication, because you're just going to stay at that level, right? No one's going to hear what you're saying. To escape that, to allow your pitch to be picked up by a reporter, to allow your campaign to get talked about, to allow people to make an action. They're sitting there, drinking their kombucha, whatever, watching, like they want to, take action looking at your ad. You have to cut through the noise. You have to cut through the noise. And you cannot do that if you don't learn how to test and take risks, right? So you have to learn how to take risk. I will never forget one of the people I worked for early in my career. He was always like, it's either funny or it's controversial. If it's neither, it's nothing. But like he was always touching on something. Like it's either going to be funny or it's tapping an emotional. It's hitting on something emotional, or it's appealing directly to your rational side. But your message needs to make me want to do something, right? If you're a marketer or communicator, your message has to make me want to take action. So you need to know how to test. You need to know how to take risks. And you need to be someone that's comfortable with that, like testing and learning, failing and adjusting as needed.
Mm-hmm. I know marketing, it's a whole other conversation about why marketing is underrated, because I agree. Sometimes I wonder if it's because maybe more women are in marketing and
who knows? That's an
yeah.
interesting.
But for everybody, just Anjali Sood, who's the CEO of Vimeo at age like 37, she started in marketing. Beth Comstock, who, became the vice chair of GE, she started in marketing and comms. I started in marketing. Now I have a little startup, but yes. So this is anybody thinking about that as a discipline to explore. It's a great place to at least begin and then to grow. Thank you for being here. Any last words of wisdom before we let you go back to your life and very busy life?
I mean, I just want to congratulate you, Claire, on can we just give Claire some love, with the emojis or whatever? I think it's amazing to write a book. It's amazing to write a book about a topic that could not be more important right now, right? I think we're all looking and saying, how do we as women take our rightful seats in the world around us? How do we take up space? How do we impact the world that we see ourselves in? And I'm so excited for everything that you're doing through the Ladies Get Paid platform. And just thank you to everyone who tuned in. And to stay connected with me, I'm at Dara Treseder on Instagram. Just send me a DM or whatever. Happy to, stay connected. And I always keep it real. So one of my friends said to me, she was like, you share the real stuff on Instagram. And I was like, well, I mean, I don't share everything, but if I'm going to share something, it's got to be real, right? I'm not, I also don't have an Instagram husband who's going to take fake pictures. He's only going to take pictures about things that are real.
You don't have to, I always say, I don't have time to not be.
Exactly. I don't have time.
And also everybody here is suggesting Ladies Get Paid Peloton channel. And yes, everyone.
Yes, you can create a tag. Let's ride together. See you on the leaderboard.
Yes. Please let's do that for my own need to be disciplined. To hold me accountable, we will create this. Thank you, Dara. Best of luck with everything. We'll stay in touch, obviously. Everybody else, by the way, when we let Dara go in just 1 minute, if you'd like to stay and hear my reading of the beginning of the book, I would be honored. And if not, that's okay too. And we'll see you on our YouTube channel. Thank you. Stay well. Happy 6 months. And here's to much longer. And we'll all be watching what you're doing and rooting you on.
Thank you so much. Take care, Claire.
Bye.
Bye.
And so for everybody else, if you'd like to stay, I would love to keep you here. This book, just so you know, it is about how women can advocate for themselves. They can get recognized and rewarded. I follow the lives of 9 real women. Each of them is going through a different professional challenge. And as they go through that challenge, I tell their story and I give advice. And it's, kind of the chronology of a career, right? Who am I and what do I want? Sort of existential questions to actually getting the job, to thriving in the job, and then making change at the job, because that is why I started Ladies Get Paid. I am disgusted and out of my patience when it comes to the wage gap and the leadership gap. And so this is what truly one of the best books I've ever read. It's a must read. I did not pay Kristen to say that. If you would like to purchase it, I highly, highly encourage you to do it from Warwick's, since they're the independent bookstore that's hosting us today. But of course you could also go on Amazon, any bookstore, anywhere, Audible, Kindle, all of that good stuff. How it all began. Before Ladies Get Paid the book came Ladies Get Paid the organization. It was born from 3 pivotal moments in my life. The first happened at an advertising festival. Party after party, CEOs of major brands socialized and drank with those who wanted their business. It was mostly men. At the time, I worked for a professional platform that connected creatives with jobs, and I was there to find clients. The festival opened with an outdoor cocktail party. Whose wife are you? He was tall, probably around 60 years old, dressed in an expensive-looking white linen suit. It had been barely 5 minutes since I'd walked into the party. I gritted my teeth and stretched my lips into what I hoped was a smile. I'm here on business. This was going to be a long week. Around-the-clock networking is tiring, and it was. But what was even more exhausting was the invisible, though sometimes obvious, imbalance of power between genders. Men greatly outnumbered women, and their seniority dwarfed ours. I needed these men to send me their business, but so many saw me, and many of the other women there, not as valuable professional connections, but as people to party with. Repeatedly, I had to wrestle the conversation back to a place that was relevant to my work, or simply back to a place where I felt comfortable. It was draining, but I had done this dance before. In fact, I'd been doing it my entire career. Something profound happened toward the end of the festival. Needing to pee and needing a break, I sought refuge in the women's restroom. It turned out I wasn't the only one. Crowded in there were women of all ages, huddled together, connecting and commiserating. They traded business cards and tips on who to avoid and who was actually serious about networking. These women had come to the festival to get shit done. It just happened to be getting done in the ladies' room, which I've now realized Ladies Get Paid, I think subconsciously came from this experience. The name Ladies Get Paid. I spent some time there recharging, then took a deep breath and went back out into the fray. After the week was over, I slept for 2 days straight. I felt demoralized and a bit disgusted as I replayed each unsettling interaction over and over again, from Mr. Whose wife are you? To the guy who slurred, you're hot, when I pitched him a business idea. Then my disgust turned inward. What had I done to attract this kind of attention? Was my dress too short? Had I been too friendly? This was an all too familiar loop, a constant refrain throughout my whole career, and maybe even my whole life. But for the first time, something short-circuited my self-doubt. For years, I'd struggled to be taken seriously as a successful, ambitious woman, questioning myself in the process. One memory stood out in particular. I was at dinner with a man a colleague had introduced me to, thinking we might partner on a project. Toward the end of the evening, he grabbed my hand and pulled me in to kiss him. He was also married with kids, so really bad. I snatched my arm back. Excuse me, I said in disbelief. The man looked utterly confused. But you gave me your business card, he sputtered. Besides the fact that it was a troubling misinterpretation of signals, what stayed with me was the fact that I was being perceived as a potential sexual partner instead of a professional one, despite every indication that I was there to do business. And as a result, networking with this person, who otherwise could have been valuable for my work, was an opportunity I would not pursue. It also made me feel like shit. I had a realization. How many other times had I missed opportunities, not because of a lack of ability or performance, but because I was a woman? How many hours had I wasted agonizing about how to maneuver among men like these in this world that they had created? I thought of all the energy I'd wasted seeking approval from the men around me. I couldn't continue like this. Something needed to change. I opened my laptop and I Googled 3 words: women, work, and inequality. I'm laughing. There was a time I didn't know anything. So what I learned shook me to my core. The majority of today's college graduates are women, yet less than 22% of us make it past middle management. The wage gap, which is usually referred to as being 78 to 80 cents to the man's dollar, is not the reality for everyone. Depending on your race and a myriad of other factors, it can be so much worse. Black women make between 63 to 68 cents on the dollar, while Hispanic women make a mere 55 cents on the dollar. I was shocked. I felt angry. And on top of that, I was ashamed for not knowing it was that bad, and that reeked of my privilege. I'd grown up being told that I could do and be whatever I dreamed of, that our workplaces are a meritocracy, and that the fight for equality was over and won by my mother's generation. I was finally understanding that this was not reality, and I wanted to do something about it. As I continued to research women in the workplace, I discovered an entire vocabulary that put words to things I'd always felt, but hadn't known how to articulate. For example, I learned about emotional labor, the contortionism that women, especially women of color, perform to fit into and accommodate environments where they are not the status quo. All of this was enlightening, but it was also overwhelming. With such systemic entrenched bias, what could I, as an individual, possibly do? A year later, I was approached by an art director friend of mine, Lita. She'd recently found out that a male art director friend of hers was charging almost double what she was. This discovery made Lita realize how little she knew about pricing and how important it was for this to be a larger, more open conversation with our peers. She was also concerned that the lack of transparency might mean other people were underpricing themselves, which in turn could be bringing down wages for everyone, which is why please, please charge as much as you can, guys. Like, do it for all of us, if not for yourself. That part's not in the book. I'm just telling you that, okay? Because I was the director of marketing for a platform that helped people find work, I was in a position to bring information and awareness to a large network of people. Lita wondered if there was something I could do to help women learn what they should be paid. It began to dawn on me that in so many ways, money symbolized much of what I'd been agonizing over in the past year. Money and having the same opportunities to earn just as much as men was about more than a number. It represented value, worth, and above all, power. All things that as women, we have historically been denied. This conversation with Lita happened during the lead up to the 2016 presidential election. As I thought about organizing an event for women to talk about money, I became intrigued by the town halls the candidates were hosting, and I thought it could be a good alternative in lieu of the format of a typical panel. I envisioned one made up of women of different backgrounds and professions, trading stories and advice about money in an open forum, essentially democratizing a subject that had always seemed to be in the domain of experts, men. More important, it could finally get us talking about a topic that was taboo, that was considered crass, but that men seemed able to navigate with ease. Maybe if one of us spoke up, others would follow. All we needed was a bit of encouragement. To get people to sign up, I asked 6 women I admired if they would be open to sharing their stories. I also asked each of them to recommend a few other women they thought should be there. For every woman I was introduced to, I asked if they could recommend another woman who might want to attend. This went on until we reached capacity. The day of the event, 100 women came. They crowded together on couches. By the way, this was in a small New York apartment, so let us be clear. Okay, it's 100 women crowded into this apartment, spilling out onto the floor, passing around bottles of wine, buzzing with energy. It reminded me of the ladies' room at the advertising festival. It was my first public speaking experience, and I knew I didn't have all the answers. I was there to learn just as much as they were. I told the room that we would get out of the event only as much as we were willing to give. To receive help meant we had to offer it. We raised our glasses to one another, and we began. It was like a cork shooting out of a champagne bottle. One story begat another as these women opened up to one another and to themselves. They shared stories of disappointments and struggles, missed opportunities, denied promotions. There were lots of tears, but lots of high fives too. One woman stood up and declared, "I'm an illustrator and I make a shit ton of money." She got a standing ovation. I was right. This conversation was about so much more than the dollars in our pockets. It was about solidarity. It was about self-worth. It was also about taking action to right the wrongs that we've been laboring under. We could no longer wait and hope to be rewarded. Money was the first step, a tangible thing that could mark progress on what was sure to be a long road ahead. I'm almost done. Thank you guys for staying. To close the wage gap, we could at least start with ourselves by advocating for our worth. But for all of us to rise, we needed to work together. 3 hours later, the event was technically over, but no one was leaving. I was becoming antsy since the venue was charging me by the hour. "Go home," I shouted as I turned off the lights. Everyone reluctantly shuffled out, and I could hear them discussing what bar to go to. They didn't want the conversation to end. Oh, bars. Oh, sad bars. Okay. Somebody asked me where I'm going, where I'm traveling after this, and I said to a bar. As one of the women walked out, she pulled me aside. "This," she said, motioning around the room, "you should do this." I didn't know what she meant, but something magical had happened that night. On my way home, I felt electric. That energy in the room was coursing through my veins, and my mind was racing. It had been over a year since I'd Googled workplace inequality, and I thought that maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something big. something that could lead toward making things right. Well, I didn't quite know what was next. Perhaps the first step was simply for us to share our stories as we had done that night. Over the course of the next 12 months, I organized 250 town halls in 19 cities, bringing together thousands of women to talk about money, power, work, and self-worth. And every time a woman got up to speak, she discovered that she was not alone. As I watched them, I knew there had to be a way to harness the strength we have when we come together. I wanted to see it move beyond those rooms and those town halls to build an even larger collective that could allow us to learn from one another, encourage one another, and share practical advice and professional guidance to where we wanted to be. The town halls were our catharsis, but with no action afterward, all that inspiration and energy would be wasted, and nothing would change. While organizing these events, I witnessed the power in peer-to-peer sharing, but I also saw there was a great need for concrete tools to fix actual problems. One topic that kept coming up in the town halls all across the country was insecurity surrounding salary negotiation. Teaching more women how to negotiate their salaries wasn't a big picture structural change, but it could at least start moving the needle in the right direction. As I fit the pieces together, I knew there was something special happening. But what I didn't know was that a movement was being born. This one area of actionable change became the cornerstone of our movement and a springboard for accessing and improving broader issues impacting women in the workplace. As of this writing, the Ladies Get Paid community has grown to more than 100,000 women who are all working together to advance women in the workplace. In this book, I will share the stories of 9 members. And they're all real. These stories are incredible. Each in their own way, these women battle internal and external struggles, pushing up against the bounds of what they and others expect of themselves, and are ultimately able to reach places of purpose, fulfillment, and power. For many of them, this meant undoing assumptions and rebuilding expectations, examining where they came from, and becoming clear on what direction they will go. In their stories, I will highlight what they can teach us. In those moments, I hope that you will reflect on your own life and how you'll use these tools to rocket yourself forward. Almost done now. This book is organized into 4 parts. The first part explores the obstacles that we may have in ourselves. We'll examine expectations we may have inherited from our families, the media, our communities, and other influences about what career success looks like and what we can achieve. From there, we'll learn to identify and evaluate opportunities to make sure we are headed on a path that's aligned with our values and goals. Then we'll break down imposter syndrome and perfectionism, 2 major internal roadblocks, often resulting from systemic and cultural obstacles that stand in our way of feeling and doing our best. In the second part of the book, we'll broaden our focus. You'll learn how to build and leverage your network to get you where you want to go. This includes interviewing, securing, and negotiating for a new job. But getting the job is only the first step. You need to also set yourself up for success. That means educating yourself on how to develop healthy work habits for the long game. Things like conducting an inventory of your energy and setting boundaries for yourself and others so that you don't burn out. You can't do well if you aren't well. Then we'll explore how to navigate upward, cultivating a support system, increasing our visibility, and taking advantage of opportunities. The ultimate goal? To seek out rewarding challenges and do our best work in a place that recognizes and rewards us. At a certain point, however, trying to do well in a system that was not made by or for us is not good enough. The system itself has to change. The final part of this book is about what we can do to make our workplaces more inclusive and supportive of women, including policies and practices companies can implement to make that happen. But for true systemic change to happen, we need updated and evolved laws. The appendix includes information on how to lobby your elected officials to enact laws that ensure wide-ranging and long-lasting progress. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that some of the lessons in this book come from a place of relative privilege. Being able to walk away from a negotiation or turn down a job are luxuries. And while as women, we are bound together by our marginalized status, my experience in the workplace as a white cisgender woman is not the same as that of a Black woman, or a Hispanic woman, or a woman with a disability, or a trans woman, or any of the countless women in groups pushed to the fringes of society who have been fighting these battles for generations. I firmly believe that we have progressed only as far as those who still struggle the most among us. If we're going to make meaningful change, it has to benefit all of us, not just some of us. and we have to do it together. Let's get started. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the applause. I know it's tough to not do this in person. My, I joke that I wrote this book for the launch party, which, never happened. So we'll do the launch part. We're doing the launch party right now, which you all just came to. We are at time, but of course, I'm not going anywhere because I live, in this room, in this box. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have about the book, career. Are you narrating the Audible version? Yes, I read the whole thing, which is, if you're not too bothered by my voice, I encourage you to buy that. It's tough when you have to read your entire book. Let me tell you how many typos I found. They're still in there because it had gone to print. So get the book and find the typos. See, nobody's perfect. Yes, post-COVID launch party. Yes, we were definitely... Yesterday we did go to our Instagram, by the way, Ladies Get Paid. We did this amazing interview of Amanda Holden, who breaks down how to invest. And our joke was we should all have a conference in Vegas. And so we'll talk about investing and then we'll go gamble. So yes, let me answer, what inspired you to write the book? So it was somebody who I'd met who said, I think you have a book in you, when I told her about my experience going across the country a few years ago. And I hosted town halls in 19 cities. And one night I was in Detroit, Michigan, and the next night I went to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I really saw a diversity. I really went because it was after the 2016 election, and I was like, what is going on with our country? So personally, I was just very, very interested. And as I told her these stories, and also the fact that in our Slack group, over 2 million messages have been exchanged since 2016. You guys like to talk. I've had this really interesting bird's eye view of not just what women sort of want in their careers, but also what they really need and how they feel about it. Because I think oftentimes we're either too much about the inspiration and it's too nebulous and abstract, or we're so like logical and logistic oriented. And I wanted to find a balance where it's like we can incorporate our feelings as part of our discussion. We should also be making it tangible. Suggestions for a career coach. I recommend, if you're not part of our Slack group, ladiesgetpaid.com, join there. It's free. We'll add you. Really great career coaches. We've reorganized some channels in Slack, so you should be able to find people a lot easier. Just make sure most career coaches will do a 20-minute free call with you, consultation, which is great. Make sure that your personalities jive. Like a good therapist, right? Like they need to communicate well with you. And Amanda Holden is hilarious. Yes. How do you select the guests for the LGP book tour? You've hosted some amazing women so far. Thank you. Yeah. For those of you who maybe have missed the other events, just go to ladiesgetpaid.com/book. I think I need to update a link or so, but there's the recordings. It's all on our YouTube channel as well. They're all personal friends of mine. And it was sort of just like interesting women doing interesting things and women that I wanted to learn from. Dara is somebody I had a lot of questions for personally. So again, I'm doing a lot of this because I want to learn, and you're also lovely that you also want to come with me on this journey. I'm always looking for more guests. I'm looking particularly for women who are just badasses in their career, have really like gone above and beyond, maybe thought outside the box, or women who are doing things to support other women, and also in the sort of activist space too. Because that's really at the end of the day, right? We start with ourselves. What can I as an individual do to improve my own life? Then we take the next step. Okay, my company, right? So hearing from women at companies who've done amazing things to shift company culture. And then of course, the most macro sense, hearing from AOC, but you're just going to have to read that part in the book where I talk about, she's the Ladies Get Paid member. So there you go. That's not me announcing an event with her. She's too busy. I'm sorry, guys. So sorry if that led you down she's hiding from insurrectionists. She's got some things going on, but yes, Judy, her story is amazing. And just quickly to tell you about her, because I think she really embodies the Ladies Get Paid spirit and what I want all of us to do in our own way, obviously. She came to the second workshop that I ever organized at Ladies Get Paid. It was called Get Unstuck, because she was not happy in her career. Oh, full disclosure, she's my friend from college. So and we were in a diversity, we were both ambassadors for the Howard Thurman Center of Diversity. So she came, and she actually ended up hiring the career coach who taught that class. I don't know how long they worked together, but Alexandra, so she goes by Sandy, or Alex. So it's weird. I'm like AOC, okay. So AOC, she knew that she wanted to do more things in civic engagement. But her question, and this is a real question, how am I going to get paid? Like, what is the paycheck? Can I make a living from the things that I love doing, which is getting involved in my community and maybe in politics? So she ended up working with me on a class that came out of the election, and it was teaching women who had never thought about activism before, but wanted to get involved. So what's the system? Like, you have to understand, local, state, and federal. How does this work if you're going to be effective? And a woman in our community who had worked on Hillary's campaign created the class. And then AOC worked with us to try to train other women to facilitate the class in their states. So yeah, I can't pronounce it, but Ikigai, that's a good, if you want to Google that, Ikigai, it's a practice in figuring out where you want to go in your career. And that's something that AOC did. And a year after that town hall, or that workshop, and her and I and this other woman sort of figuring out how to get the Ladies Get Paid community more engaged, she came to a town hall that I hosted called Reinvention. And it was about women who have rethought their careers and their lives. And the way that I structured my town halls is I would ask a number of women to speak first, kind of to set the tone, and to use those stories as a way of encouraging other people. Hey, if you see yourself in this story, if this resonates with you, stand up, share your own. And AOC was not one of the speakers because she hadn't done anything. So she was in the audience, but she stood up and she said, people like me do not run for office. People who look like me don't run for office, but I have always wanted to run for office. And I'm going to do it. I am going to run for office. I have I don't know if you can see, I have some goosebumps there. And everybody, there were 100 women. We all cheered. I cried because I knew her journey. And I think, good, Judy, someone in this Zoom is the next AOC. Yes, yes. Oh, hi, Kelly Becker. Hi, see you. But I think the reason that everybody cheered was not because she was going to win, because she was up against a 20-year incumbent. Like, if you know her story, you know what I'm saying, right? This older white guy, he had a lot of power. And that's also, that's why it was so moving, because she was publicly declaring herself, which is scary as hell. She was holding herself accountable. And also she was declaring herself to do something that she probably wasn't going to succeed at. That was why it was so moving. Now we know she succeeded, and she became the youngest congresswoman ever. And she gave Ladies Get Paid a shout out at the Women's March. So we also love her for that. And I tell the story in the book, and I've given away that story, but hopefully you'll still be encouraged to read the book. But that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for from us. You do not have to be AOC. You do not, at all. I don't envy her life at all. I want to have a little bit more of a relaxed life. But the fact that she started small, listened to her instinct, but also figured out, how do I make this a career, right? How am I going to make money from this? So she did it in a beautiful way. And there's so many other women who've done it too. And by the way, the woman on Hillary's campaign who created that class, she ended up running for state Senate in the district right next to AOC. And they campaigned together, and she also won. Alessandro Biaggi is her name. She also beat a 20-year-old man incumbent. She's a rising star. These women are going to be running our country, and they're going to do it with us. So there you go. I responded to a question that was not asked. So there you go. Anyone else? Okay. So any tips? Well, I just see Sarah. Any tips for someone about keeping the receipts at jobs? Specifically, how do you document the extra tasks your job has you doing that are outside of your specific job description? I love that you asked that, because that's actually a suggestion that I give women when they're trying to figure out what accomplishments they talk about when it's time for their either review or for a new job. Go actually find the original job description and then write up a new one that's actually based on everything you did. You're going to see probably a big scope change. And so you're going to find some really good stuff there to talk about. You should be documented as you go along, because otherwise, if you're going to wait, to what I'm saying right now, like it's going to be pretty overwhelming. So anytime you do something that's both outside of what you've been asked to do, or you're just jazzed to do it, you're proud of it, it got results, which by the way, saving time and saving money is huge. So if you can make the case that you've, gotten negotiated vendors down, you've like been creative about conserving resources, like it's always about how did you make the company money, although sometimes it's not always obvious depending on your job function. But I think for a lot of women, we're very good at making shit happen, making magic happen out of nothing. That is a story to tell. So hopefully that was an answer to a question that was actually asked. What advice would you give if you've been on a job for 6 months and have an opportunity to leave for a role that pays 25% more? That is such a personal question to yourself. I mean, and Dara talked about this, I think, a little bit, and I talk about it in the book. Your job, what you do for a living, should fit in holistically in your life. So it's, more money, more problems too, right? Like maybe you don't want to work 24/7, so you're willing to take less of a paycheck. So that's the thing, getting 25% more. Is this a direction you even want to go into your career? Are you going to be challenged, learning new skills, thinking like 5 years from now, is this an opportunity you can leverage, right? Is it moving you in a certain direction? If it's just about the money, you could bring it back to your current job and say, I've been given another offer, but I want to stay here. Can you match what they're offering? You can say, if you were in my position, what would you do? You have to be willing to walk though, if you do that, because sometimes employers will feel like you're not being loyal. I think they don't do that to men. I think women are, they, at least in my experience, the men I've worked for have taken it very personally when I wanted to move on. Oh, good, buying this book for my sister, her birthday. I love your last name, Lovejoy. What a great last name. Well, my friends, if there are no more questions, we will all stop procrastinating from our work and our lives. Let me just drop that one more time, that Warwick's, into the chat, because again, I would, Amazon's great, but Bezos doesn't need more of our money. No, he does not. Also, tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time, and I'll be emailing all you guys anyway, I'm doing our office hours. We do them every other week, and this is about the job interview. I'm rocking the job interview, so come and join me 1 p.m. It's on our YouTube channel. And the last thing I was going to say, because Kelly Becker is on this call, and she's amazing, and I would love Kelly to just drop her information into the chat. Kelly and I were on Good Morning America last week, so that's our event next tomorrow. And Kelly has been on a journey. I don't know if she wants me to talk about her, but I'm gonna just put the Good Morning America clip in here so you can see her. She's so great. Yeah, and Kelly, oh good. So Kelly's been looking for a job for a while. I don't know why nobody has snagged her, because she's really dynamic and really smart. And so we were on Good Morning America, where they took 3 of our members, Tamaya, Alicia, and Kelly, who are all different stages of looking for work. And then I gave what I hope is good advice. And then Robin Roberts surprised me with something. So if you want to see my funny reaction, basically falling out of my chair, click that link. I put it in the chat, and Kelly dropped her LinkedIn. So I know she's on her final interview, but definitely worth connecting with her and everybody else in here. So hope you all LinkedIn'd each other already. And I miss you guys, because I don't know when this is going to end. Best of luck. Stay well. Stay safe. Maybe I'll see you on the office hours tomorrow. And if you're going to email me, which I get a bunch of emails, my inbox is giving me hives right now, just thinking about it. So don't email me, but DM me. So Claire Gets Paid is my Instagram. I do respond to DMs. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for sticking around. Go ladies get paid. Go future AOCs, and I'll see you all soon.